She's the midnight mistress of fairies and dark mischief. He's the paranormal beacon of mystic fairs and government leaking. If the dark side had a prom, they would be the king and queen. They live the metaphysical and make a wicked awesome team. From every single culture in every corner of the globe, they creep the lore and legends just to keep you in the know. For some it's hyperbole, fantastical and myth. For them it's all too real and your paradigm will shift. It's forever Halloween with all treats and no tricks. He's got a thing for witches and she's all Stevie Nicks. So welcome to our carnival of the weird and the bizarre, where UFOs and curses take shape beneath the stars. Sit back, relax, open your mind and stay a few. It's time for John and Stacey, and do we have something for you? Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your host, John and Stacey Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And you know what?
What?
It's not just a new moon. Mm-hmm. It is a new supermoon.
Ooh.
A super new moon.
Super new?
A new moon in super. I don't know how they want to say it, but however you want to say it, it's as close as that sucker could be to us.
Right.
And it's a new moon.
Very cool.
Of course, they could be lying to me because it's a new moon, so I couldn't really tell.
Right. If it was super or not.
Yeah, it could be the furthest away it's ever been. You're not really going to know.
Exactly.
But it's cool because obviously super moons are always like weird and crazy, and it seems like there's a little bit more pull, you know. I mean, hey man, we're all just water and that thing controls us, you know. Not just that, with a new moon, you know, it's always like a rebirth, and it always feels like you're starting new, manifesting.
New beginnings. Yes.
New brand new beginnings, and you can always manifest. Now the energies in June, the energies moving into the best sign coming up with Cancer coming up, but the energies in June, it's just everything seems a little bit stronger, you know. It's a very magical time.
It is.
I'm just gonna say that. And you've got not only this, which is a super new moon, the new super moon,
right, or however you say it,
but you've also got the actual solstice coming up, midsummer.
Yes.
And it's going to be, you know, June 21st, which feels to me like it's always June 21st. But that actually is kind of tricky because even the way the calendars work and everything, a lot of the celebrations go from like June 21st to June 25th to my birthday. And that's in very, like, a lot of different areas of the world. They'll do that celebration through that whole time period.
Yes. And any excuse to have a celebration for days on end.
We'll
take it.
Absolutely. And it's one of the OGs. Like, I'm really surprised there's not some official holiday,
right?
You know, like some holiday they came up with the church, like in, you know, the year 3, where they're like, well, the pagans are out there again. We're gonna have to come up with something. I mean, that was the official guy. His name was Barney,
right?
Barnabas, and Barnabas used to come up with these things because they were like, you know, the damn pagans were messing everything up, you know, and they had some good things going on, and then it was like, hey, they'd be out on the lawn. Like, I always picture like this. There was some big Roman building, right? The Romathon, and they're all in the Romathon,
right? And
you know, they're like, oh, it seems like it's going pretty good. I agree, Barnabas. It's going great. And, you know, then they see out there on the lawn, like, hey guys, look, I'm naked. Oh yeah, freedom. It's the middle of summer. And they're like, we're gonna have to do something about this. What do we do? I don't know. Let's we need a holiday, like another holiday, like a good Christian holiday, something strong, something good, something everybody will get behind,
right?
You know, and I just think somehow, somewhere, because they got Easter, they got you know, Christmas, they got, you know, some of the ones that the dirty, filthy pagans were using, right? And it looks like they would have got the 21st.
You would think so,
but they didn't.
No,
they didn't. They kind of left it for my birthday.
There you go. They just couldn't think of anything for that.
Yeah, I think they knew. I think it was written. I think it was written somewhere that upon this 25th day of June in the year whatever, this beautiful bald baby will be born and never grow hair. You know, I don't know. I don't know how it works. All I know is it's a very strong time of year, regardless. Everything feels better, right? Like fall and autumn, that's my favorite time of year.
Right.
It really is. It's so beautiful, and it's just, it feels, but really, is there anything better than summer?
I mean, I love summer. It's so nice every day.
Yeah. I mean,
sky's all blue, and
I don't think I appreciated summer until I lived on a polar ice cap.
Right.
I think once you live somewhere that it's completely cold, like all the time,
right?
I think you appreciate those 2 weeks of summer.
Exactly.
It's just something different. But there's a lot of interesting things around the solstices, and, you know, winter and summer. You got a lot of your ancient, you know, buildings and, you know, ancient structures all centered around lining up with the solstices, you know, because there's just a lot of energy. You got like the longest day of the year, the shortest day of the year. Of course, there's a lot of superstition that comes along with that, you know, especially with it being so dark on the 21st of December and even in the summer. There's special things. It's supposed to be the most powerful that herbs that you can pick, you know, during that time period there. You're supposed to save the ashes from the fire and put it on your garden, and it's, you know, supposed to give you a bountiful harvest.
Right.
You know, if we had a harvest or something, it
or
makes,
a garden.
Yeah, or a garden. It would make me want to, maybe we should like burn something and go to somebody else's garden and just kind of throw it on there.
There you go.
I can see us getting arrested for that, you know? And what would they do? It's just like, excuse me, sir. What are you doing? You mean with the ashes? Yeah, yes, with the ashes. I'm trying to give them a bountiful harvest. I mean, what are they going to do, right?
They're going to scrape up those ashes and test them to make sure you're not disposing of a body.
Oh, my God. And I know there's also like evil spirits, which is always the best, right?
Of course.
You got to have the evil spirits trying to come and get something.
Well, yeah. I mean, it would be fun otherwise.
Yeah, it's only certain days that they get to do stuff. And you know how you get rid of them?
How?
St. John's wort.
Oh.
Yeah, the stuff that's on the shelf there at Walmart, you never know what it's for.
Yeah. It's for dispelling evil spirits.
It's for dispelling evil spirits.
I feel like they could do better advertising on that.
Wait a second. You know what? I think I just did the whole monologue without celebrating St. John's Day.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a particularly well-known holiday.
No, not really.
It's not even really a recognized holiday, right? Well, not here.
Right.
But, you know, John the Baptist, June 24th, St. John's Day. So that's thus, hence, St. John's wort, which they were supposed to use to dispel the evil spirits. All right, well, I apologize about the whole, you know, no holiday thing, I guess. But they didn't really capitalize on it.
Right.
You know, I think that's what made Barnabas lose his job.
Possibly.
He probably came up with that and then was like, you know, he didn't make any kind of, I don't know, like they have a bunny for one and, you know. Maybe he had an aardvark or something.
Something silly.
Yeah. You know, I think I'm going to make the aardvark like the Paranormal Sideshow mascot.
Okay.
Just because, I mean, it's an aardvark, right? What kind of love is it going to get other than us?
I don't ever recall hearing somebody just talk about an aardvark, you know, just in normal conversation. I
mean, the aardvark is just, it's got such a funny name.
It does.
It's like actually made use of the silent A. How many things can like hold claim to that?
Just people named Aaron.
Yeah, well.
And that's it.
Yeah, and aardvarks.
And aardvarks.
But, I mean, the aardvark also, it kind of looks like I don't know, like a starving pig made it with a bunny. And it's just really strange. Like they're
very unusual looking.
Oh, yeah, they look really weird and stuff. That's why I love them. I don't know. I thought about maybe making aardvark our mascot, but it just isn't going to work. I mean, even I can't even, do something with an aardvark.
No, it's really hard to do anything with it. You can't
really
even rhyme it or anything.
If Barnabas couldn't do it, how the hell am I supposed to do it?
Exactly.
But, like I said, it's just a good time to manifest. And it's time to manifest those new dreams. Are you ready for that new TV show? Are you ready for that new pop album? Are you ready for, to design that new game? Elder Scrolls 6.
Yes. Yeah. Now is a good time.
Yeah, great time. Great time. Great time at E3. Thank you, E3. Thank you, Bethesda. Because I thought I was going to have to wait till 2030. If you know, you know. If you don't know, don't start. If you go back and start playing Skyrim now, you'll lose a couple of years of your life.
Yes.
I'm just telling you from experience.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of manifesting, we got to manifest some of those cool, groovy new Paranormal Sideshow shirts.
Yeah.
Those things are awesome, man. They really are. I'm not just a pitcher, I'm a taker. I had to get me one of those. It was awesome.
Yes, I really like them.
I wear it around a lot because I dig it. It really is a cool shirt. From someone who's had some pretty cool shirts, that's a cool shirt.
Yes, I really like it.
It's I do. It makes me want to like put it up for actual sell, but then it takes the speciality away from it being, the $25 level on the Patreon.
Right, because that's the only people that have them right now.
Yeah, I know, and it's very special. And they're very limited because we've decided to make a limited run of these shirts. And because we like stuff like that, limited number of certain pictures, limited number of this. We're getting ready to make a full tarot card deck. Or the lovely and talented Raja is ready to make a full tarot card deck. And that's going to be limited. We're going to, then make a new one. It's just, we're just weird that way. But the shirt will be limited. I don't know, man. I love it. I dig it. It's really cool.
I think I'm going to get one.
It's really cool. And the tarot card is pretty awesome too on the patron. So speaking of patrons, I'm giving another ring the bell here for a $10 patron subscriber, and I'll give a little shiz out to Russell Hooper. Thank you, Russell, for the support. Our newest patron of $10 or more, and it is nice to give a little shout out there. I will say patreon.com/paranormal sideshow is the place to go find all that grooviness and help support the show. If you want to support the show, but once again you work for NASA and you can't let anybody know, then you can do it through a one-time donation through PayPal, and you can hit us up on paranormalsideshow.com and find the link there to be able to get everything that you want to get. youtube.com/paranormalsideshow is the place to go find our really groovy killer videos, including There's Something Strange About This Week, which somehow we say very, very cool during the videos. But what that is, if you guys haven't seen it yet, go back and just watch all of the ones we have so far, because they're awesome. They really are. They're a lot of fun to make, and basically we condense some of the stories we do here on the show, plus we give you one or two bonus stories at the end of that show. So it's kind of like the midweek version. So if you're a big fan of the podcast and you listen to it as soon as it comes out, There's Something Strange About This Week is your opportunity to, check it out midweek. And we do that as, exclusively on YouTube. And, you get it's a different version of the story, more condensed than what we do here. But you do get a preview of the next show because you're going to get an extra story, at least one extra story.
Yes.
So it's a lot of fun there. And the editing is a lot of fun too, because if you watch the stories as we talk about them, you never know what's going to pop up on the screen. So you never know when you're going to see an aardvark. And, I'm sure that this week's version will have an aardvark on it. Just taking a guess. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97. Like us on Facebook, on iTunes, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, etc. However you listen to the podcast, guys, please like us, subscribe to us, leave a comment, leave a nice comment. If you leave a mean comment, I hear things happen to your pets. Nothing bad. That would be terrible to say.
That would be terrible to say.
No, I'm talking about something like gas. Like your cat's going to get gas.
Oh.
Yeah.
That could have been taken several different ways.
Yeah, no, not gassed. No, I mean, we're not going to get like a little, how expensive it would be to find a little kitty gas mask?
It'd be weird if they just made that.
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? That should be like the Patreon, like $30 level. Like the little kitty gas mask.
Oh, goodness.
Fun for kitty parties. I mean, it'd be interesting anyway, right?
It would be.
There's something for a real sideshow.
There you go.
Seriously, there you go. It's like a space cat. A little space suit for a cat. I love that stuff. Oh, come on. Toons is the driving cat on Saturday Night Live. there is no way to explain to somebody who's never seen me watch that.
Oh, I've never seen you laugh so hard.
Fake kitty paws. Fake kitty paws is right up there with the Count singing the song, the censored Count.
The censored Count song, that's hilarious.
Oh my God, YouTube, put that link on paranormalsideshow.com.
Okay, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
I'm telling you. It's, guys, we really appreciate everybody who has joined our Patreon. It helps out, and, you know, we really can't say thank you enough. So we try to do that with some extra content, and we will keep making more content, you know, as much as we can. Thank you again. Love you guys so much. But speaking of love, it's about time for some paranormal love news.
Okay, so let's get to the news.
Let's hold on just a second.
Okay.
So what happened? Things got a little bit weird at the first of this segment today.
Right.
So before we went into the news, we're like, okay, we better stop for a second. And when we stopped, you know, Stacey's like, I'm going to try to collect myself. I'm going to try to figure out, you know, something to do here. I'm going to play a game on my phone or something like that. And instead, she looks up aardvarks and sideshows.
I was trying to correlate the two somehow.
Yeah. So she finds something very odd. So there's a band called Sideshow. It's an indie rock band from the UK, meaning they're cooler than you. And they released an album on Aardvark Records. That's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
It is. It's a little crazy. But, you know, I don't know. Stuff like that is just so ironic.
It's very strange.
Don't you think? I mean, it's like rain on your wedding day.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry. Just go ahead. We got some really good news.
Okay, well, let's go on with this first story. And this is a story that we did as our bonus story on our last Something Strange About This Week.
Something strange about this week.
And this is about the NASA announcements that we talked about on last week's show.
Hashtag not aliens.
So they started the announcement. The woman that was facilitating the whole event
Was a Sideshow event.
She was, because she immediately came on and she said, okay, look, everyone, we all have social media accounts. In other words, we're not just, you know, in our offices not seeing what's going on. Like, we all have social media accounts. We know what everybody's been anticipating about this announcement.
We don't just spend all day, like, you know, highlighting the UFOs out of pictures.
Exactly. And she said, so I just want to say right up front, we did not find life. This announcement is not about finding life.
She had a pair of panties on, and they had hashtag no aliens on the back. You know, the like little cutesy alien face on the front. Just telling you.
So the announcement that NASA made was actually pretty amazing. They announced the discovery of ancient organic matter that was buried beneath the surface of Mars. So
That's really crazy.
The Curiosity rover drilled into the rock in this area called the Gale Crater.
Is it next to the Crystal Crater?
I don't know. It might be. I'm not up on my geography of Mars.
Crystal Gale.
I get it. So the rocks that the Curiosity rover was drilling into are 3 billion years old.
That's insane.
It's insanity. And these complex molecules that they found, they said could possibly could be left by ancient life.
Yeah, that's like tree sloth level, like slow disclosure.
It really is, because they said that they aren't sure.
Yeah.
That's how it was left there. There are other possibilities.
Right.
There are other ways that these complex molecules could have been left in this crater.
Sexual relations with that intern.
But it does leave open the possibility that it could have been some kind of life.
Yeah.
A long time ago. So it really was an intriguing, you know, announcement, a big announcement, something that, you know, they're still going to study further, obviously. But that wasn't the only thing that they announced. They also talked about a study that they've been doing on the methane levels in the same area, in that same crater. And it was like a 5-year-long study, and they've been measuring the amount of methane in the area. And they found out that the methane levels are seasonal. Yeah, so they go up and down.
That's how they figured out around my Uncle Joe one time, too. They measured it around the house for like 6 months, and they're like, you know, we're pretty sure that around 4th of July, the methane levels go up substantially.
Well, the reason that this is so important is because it could be some kind of microbial source that causes the methane levels to change. Now, they're not sure about that either, but it does leave that possibility open.
How would you like to be the microbial source that every now and then lets off a little bit more little bit more methane than other times? And that's how we discovered life in the universe.
Because we couldn't not fart.
Yeah, it's because of your gas. It's just like, we have found this human being.
Well, like I said, this particular finding is not impressive on its own, really, but when you put it together with all the other little things that they've discovered,
it's impressive,
over the past months and years, then it does become intriguing.
Very curiosity. It's amazing what that thing's done.
Yes, well,
it's also amazing watching the aliens that are not actually on that planet come up and fix it when it breaks.
Well, like I said, it wasn't the announcement that people were hoping for, but it's still pretty cool. Yeah,
I mean, it's always cool. It's always fun waiting for it too. Mm-hmm. I think NASA has fun with it.
I think so. I think they periodically do those, and they're like, let's not release anything about this and see how many people think that we're going to announce about life.
NASA, everybody who works there, okay, they probably were children when Star Wars came out. Okay,
right?
They grew up playing with the same toys. Mm-hmm. It just so happens they took a different route. Okay. And that they probably have sex in their offices. They probably play games all day on their computer. They probably do all this stuff. They joke around. They fart right before the camera comes on. I mean, we make them out to be very stuffy. Mm-hmm. But I dare say that they have a lot of fun with what they do.
Oh, I'm sure.
And the whole time that they're like removing UFOs from pictures and stuff, and
do you think they take bets on how many times somebody's going to speculate that it's aliens that they're going to announce?
Oh, dude, wouldn't you have fun with it?
Yeah.
I would have fun with it.
Yeah, I would.
I would purposely say things that could be misconstrued.
You'd accidentally stumble over your words.
It would take me hours. It would take me hours to be able to carefully craft things. And not only that, you wait till I'm a star, okay? So the second that I get a TV show or something, I'm just saying, every now and then, I'm going to do something with my hands where it makes it look like a triangle. I'm gonna put little Illuminati things in there. I'm gonna try to make my face look like I became a lizard for a second, like just
like contacts and stuff. And
just for a split second, I'm just gonna be like, like just clock out for a second and come back. I tell you what, after I got those concussions from pro wrestling, like around 2001 or something. I did, man. They would have thought I was a reptilian. I clocked out.
Black out.
Yeah, I mean, over and over and over. I would just be talking, and all of a sudden, I'd be in the middle of talking with my friends. It'd be like, "Hey guys, yeah," and then I'd come right back.
I bet none of them said anything to you about it, though.
Oh no, they didn't. They didn't. Scary stuff, though.
It really is.
But yes, I will totally do that. I am totally. If I ever get the platform. I've thought about it for years. I'm going to make it interesting for people.
Right.
It's I like to be that guy at the mall, at the grocery store. I like to be that guy that makes you wonder, that makes you have to think about things. I like to push Ariana in the back of the car instead of just, opening the door for it and kind of look around and jump in. That kind of stuff. Yeah, but we had a lot of fun.
Yes. Well, let's move on.
Let's.
Okay, so this next story is some more information about the U.S. officials that have been getting ill in Cuba and China. Now, if you remember, the first story that we had was last year, and it was like a bunch of U.S. officials in Cuba. And
weird stuff.
Like 24 of them. They had to bring them all home.
Like scratches. It's like a weird Sherlock Holmes story where there's actually gas being released in a place. Seriously, I'm serious about this.
It's something like that.
It seems like there's like some kind of weird, invisible, non-smelling, non-odorous gas that's being released in these places. And I put a lot of thought into this because it's just like a freaking Sherlock Holmes story because they're having that whole, Hound of the Baskervilles illusion happen where they're seeing things or hearing things and it's like, scratches and things on the walls and stuff. So
Yeah, so it's been really strange, and they've brought them home, and they've been treating them and testing them at the University of Pennsylvania. And when the doctors evaluate them, they claim that it seems like they've had this traumatic brain injury, even though nobody's had any accidents. So we had that story, and then we had the recent story from China where an official had to be brought home from China with the same symptoms, hearing the weird noises in a residence and becoming very ill. So now we have this new article where there are 2 more cases from Cuba, where there are potentially new cases. They've brought them home, and they're going to go ahead and doing the test. They haven't been medically deemed the same thing, but they are concerned, and it's
weird that it's only these Americans
doing the new cases. Now, there were Canadians. Remember, we did the story. There were a few Canadians as well that were affected, but it's mostly Americans, and the ones in China were Americans. Now, according to this particular article, that if these 2 are confirmed, it would be the 25th and 26th from Cuba, and that there is a potential of 10 more in China that they have brought home and are running tests on at the University of Pennsylvania. So they still have absolutely no idea what any of this has done. I mean, how it's being done.
I don't know, man. It's got to be a death ray. I mean, it sounds like something that you would do with some kind of chemicals, but using some kind of old school death ray outside that you've always heard about, and the conspiracy theories have always been there for.
Right.
It's weird that it's happening in Cuba and China, but if I ever thought of 2 places that might coordinate,
Right. Like, I feel like they should be looking at what kind of connections there are there with China
with
and
countries
Cuba.
that start with C.
Something like that.
Yeah, no, it's really weird, and just a high number of it. But the strangest part to all of it is that it's paranormal sounding.
It is. And what's funny about this article is it said that Cuba actually released a statement recently about this new case, that there's actually 2 new potential cases, but they only released a statement on one of them, which they thought was really odd, saying that, when she reported, last month that she was hearing these weird sounds in her home, and then she came up with these symptoms, that they went to investigate, and they looked everywhere around her home and could find no cause for it. But they said that they didn't have access to her, like they weren't able to talk to her. Their statement says that they have no idea what it is. They're not doing it. And the United States doesn't know why they only mentioned one person and not the other one.
What if they're spying on them inside the walls? And
Maybe.
They hear him falling down, and they can hear him breathing or whatever. I don't know. It's really freaky.
It is. The whole thing is so strange.
And I mean, it's just weird that it's the 2 continents like that. It's weird that it's primarily Americans and the couple of Mounties, and it's just strange.
It is. But that's the newest information. Obviously, it's still going on, and they still have no information about how it's happening.
I don't know. One of our listeners recently asked me about the tinnitus that I've talked about on the show before. And, about what I think it is. And I've always said, there's part of me that thinks it's something to do with CERN. I think there's too many of us with sensitivities to the paranormal that the tinnitus really started when this stuff. I think it could be Mandela related. I don't know. I don't know what it is with the tinnitus that is such a big deal. And mine still affects me quite often. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's really bad. But it makes me think about these people that are going through whatever they're going through. It's just really
it's frustrating when you don't have a reason for what's going on with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so strange. This is a very strange story that we need an answer to.
I agree, and I don't know that we're going to get one. So, all right, well, let's move on to this next story, and this one's pretty interesting. This is about a woman that is suing NASA.
Oh.
And let me kind of give you a backstory to this. This is a woman. Her name is Laura Seco.
Yes.
And when she was 10 years old, her name was Laura Murray. When she was 10 years old, before she was married, her father was a pilot for the U.S. Army Air Corps during World War II and for the Federal Aviation Administration, and he was friends with Neil Armstrong. So she claims that her father...
It's a moon rock thing, isn't it?
It's something like that. Her father and Neil Armstrong were both members of this group called Quiet Birdmen. It was like a secretive club of male pilots. And sometime in
excuse me, what was the name of this little club?
Quiet Birdmen.
Quiet Birdmen.
Yes, men come up with weird names for things.
No, I love it. I love it. I really love it. I just really want to see what their logo was.
I don't know.
Like, I really hope it was a bird going shh.
Well, sometime in the 70s, Neil Armstrong was an aerospace engineering professor at the University in Cincinnati, and her family lived in the city. And so her father and Neil would get together, and one day Neil Armstrong brought her a little vial of moon dust. And there was a little note, a handwritten note that went along with it that said, "To Laura Ann Murray, best of luck, Neil Armstrong, Apollo 11." And he gave it to her as a gift, because he was friends with her father.
Right.
So she kept the note in her room, but her parents put the vial of moon dust away, and she hadn't seen it for decades. Well, recently, her parents have both passed away, and she was going through the things in the house, and she found the vial of moon dust, and she showed it to her husband. She's like, "Look, here it is. I have it. I have this vial." So knowing about the stories in the past of what NASA has done with, citizens owning moon rocks and things like that, she took it upon herself to sue NASA, to file a lawsuit claiming that she got to keep this moon dust, that NASA wouldn't come and take it away, that it's rightfully hers. Right. So she took the initiative before they could come and take it.
She should have took the initiative to find out that it came from her backyard. I mean, I'm just saying.
Well, in the article it does talk about that they did test it, and that it did come out that it could possibly have come from the lunar surface. Well, I don't think it was a definitive test. I'm not really sure. They didn't go into a lot of detail.
I mean, is that in the computer program?
Possibly.
This is possibly dust from,
Well, NASA didn't really comment, and they didn't seem like they were...
When you say they tested it?
Whoever, it didn't say the
Okay, so here's the thing. Mm-hmm. This is one of those things I don't trust.
Right.
Universities, okay? Mm-hmm. If you're listening from a university, I trust you. It's the people that don't listen to the show. But I'm just saying that I just don't trust something from these universities. Like, if you take something to them and say, "Okay, look, this alien was on my bed last night and he shot this weird substance all over me." And, and you take that, scoop it up, and you take it in, and you tell them that, and I'm afraid when you leave it there, that they're going to change that and make it Elmer's glue. You know what I mean? And
I mean, you never know.
And they're going to be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, this is Elmer's glue. You must have got up in the middle of the night and done this."
Right.
And I'm going to be like, "Wait a second. Aren't you the same guy that when I brought the Giant's bone said that was, that I was mistaken on that one too?" And no, that was my brother.
Yeah. I wouldn't let that stuff out of my sight.
He was in Knotlob, not Bolton. Sorry.
Well, she did have the note authenticated. It is Neil Armstrong's handwriting. They got that analyzed. And she did get a lawyer because, she said that NASA has a history of seizing suspected lunar material.
You think?
And the article does even point out the story, and it was one that we talked about last year, where an appeals court ruled against NASA, and NASA's a criminal investigator, against this old woman. She was 74, and she had some little moon rocks, and she was hard up for money, and she decided she wanted to sell them.
Snort them.
And so she actually contacted NASA, and they were like paperweights. They were put in paperweights, and she asked them to help her sell them. And they did this big sting operation and locked her up and treated her very badly. And that actually all happened years ago, but we did the follow-up story in 2017 when the appeals court ruled against them and gave her a settlement. She actually did settle out of court.
Do you think when NASA shows up, it's like the Spanish Inquisition guys?
I do picture it kind of like that.
Yeah. It's just like, all of a sudden, it'd be like, "Oh, look, I've got this moon rock." No one expects the NASA Inquisition. Our primary thing is, our primary mission is hiding the truth.
Airbrushing.
Freaking airbrushing.
Well, I feel like when we did that other story about the woman with the paperweights and the moon rocks, that I read something that said that it's not illegal to own dust, just the rocks, but I don't know if that's really a law. So, and I don't know how her lawsuit's going to turn out, but
I'm sure
yay
they make it up as they go.
taking the initiative to be able to keep her gift. So
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of cool. All right, so let's move on. And this is kind of an interesting story. So for the first time ever, coming up in July, members of the public can actually tour where the Roswell crash happened.
Oh.
And there's on the ranch there, it's
Wait a second.
normally closed to the public.
Yeah.
And the people that own the land have decided to open that up for tours.
Okay.
What did you think the government was going to like?
Well,
No.
I thought, well, maybe they're, like, hey, you know what? Hard times are hard.
We need some money for NASA.
Smith, let's open an amusement park.
Well, normally, like I said, their ranch is closed to the public and, you can't get anywhere near it.
Yes.
They've decided out of the goodness of their hearts and for $250 a piece for VIP tickets, you can tour the actual ranch. And so there is
Can you sift through it? I mean, is it like, like what is it?
Depends. There's like a $65 cost for a bus tour. Right? And then if you pay the $250 price tag for the VIP experience, you actually get like a meal. They'll feed you like authentic Mexican cuisine and participate in, quote, interactive activities. I don't know what that means, but you can rent metal detectors. Yeah,
well, I really want it to be the full experience. So, it needs to be like one of those things like we take the kids to. So I want to go out there, pay $250 and let me dig around, but have stuff already planted, like anal probes and, little cats wearing gas masks and, stuff like that. Well, just a gas mask for the cats.
Right.
And that would be cool. Wouldn't it be cool just to have stuff planted around and then you win a prize and a t-shirt? Like if you find the alien body or.
There you go. Would you find a whole alien body or just pieces of an alien body?
I don't know.
If you find the weathered balloon, do they kick you off the ranch? Well, anyway, it's only for like one weekend. So you have to buy your tickets in advance. And I mean, if you're going out there anyway as a tourist and you want to actually go, and they'll even let you in like the cabin and everything where they did, the pictures. And, it, for somebody that's really into the history of it and all, that's probably very exciting.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on. So this is a story from a village.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is from a village in Thailand.
Oh, that's the best kind of village. I love Thai villages.
In this village, a widow's ghost has been blamed for mysterious deaths.
Is it a ghost that a widow owns? Or the ghost of a widow? The
ghost of a widow.
Oh, okay.
Yes. That's a good question, though. Fair point.
Fair point. I know a lot of weird widows.
They just have ghosts in the closet.
If anybody's going to, it's going to be the widows.
Oh, so 2 men have mysteriously died in this village, and they went to, the lady the soothsayer to help them. And
do they really have a soothsayer there?
The medium. They call her a medium.
No.
I just wanted to call her a soothsayer because I like the way.
You're dirty. You can't change words like that.
I'm paraphrasing. That's allowed, right?
You can't change it to soothsayer. I mean, I'm on like Trivago right now buying tickets.
Well, the villagers went to see a medium who held a rite at the village shrine to invite the spirits to explain the causes of these mysterious deaths. It was like 2 men.
Those Thailand.
Always the men.
Those Thailand mediums are hardcore. They should be called larges.
Well, so the medium said that it was a widow, the ghost of a widow,
yes,
who wanted to take the lives of 4 men in the village. And since 2 had already died, 2 more were soon going to follow.
Jesus.
So she told the families that in order to keep the spirits from coming to their house, to hang a red shirt outside of their home. So there's a picture on the article where you can see all these houses and all these red shirts hanging out front. And it was funny because in the article it said that some of the villagers even attached a note to the shirt that said, "There are no men in this house, only cats and dogs."
Wow.
So
you know what? I bet the cats I bet the cats went and like moved the shirts. Because cats are pricks.
According to the medium, no other men in the village have died in their sleep since. So the red shirts are obviously working.
So I hate to be a debunker. Okay, I really do, because I love stories like this.
Right.
But I can already use my abilities and tell you what happened.
Okay.
It's a little village. So in little villages, they don't have Walmarts. Okay, they still have like the bread shop and the turkey shop, and they have a turkey shop, and you know, they just have all these places,
the
right?
woman grinding corn,
right. They have all these little, you know, the pottery shop and the lens, you know, places for your glasses and all this stuff. It's all like a main street, right? Little open air market and stuff.
Right.
I guarantee you, there's somebody who sells the local clothes, right? They make shirts, they make dresses and stuff, who ordered too much of the red dye or something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like they ordered it off eBay, and
like red's gonna be a hot color this year.
And they're like, oh, balls, we got like 400 things of red, okay, and all these freaking t-shirts, you know. I got an idea, you know. How do we sell all these red shirts? I know.
I'm sure that's exactly what happened.
I don't know. More than likely, it's exactly what they said. And why the red shirt though?
It didn't really say in the article what the purpose of the red shirt was. I'm sure
I'm looking for a red shirt right now.
Some kind of explanation for that, but obviously it was something to ward off.
I feel like you spread this now. From doing this story, like I feel like everybody listening to this needs to put a red shirt out front now,
so nobody dies in their sleep.
It's freaking terrible.
I mean, apparently it just affects men, so I'll hang one out for you.
Okay, please. Thanks.
If I can find one.
I think I've got a red shirt.
Okay.
I mean, I think I do.
You're like, we're gonna go get one right now.
Yeah, no, our neighbors are gonna be like, oh look, they hugged something for 4th. Oh, never mind.
Do you want me to put a note on it that said there's no men here, just cats and dogs?
Please.
All right, well, let's move on. So this next story is...
No men here. Just us chickens.
All right, so this next story is really cool. It's like a really good story about a psychic.
Good. I like positive stories.
So this story is about a woman named Juanita Zafransky. And she is a medium, and she helps the police with like missing person cases and just does different things. And she's had her abilities for a very long time, since she was a kid. And locally, she found out that this woman named Marlene Martin, she's 84, she went missing. She was playing bingo with her family, and she went to the bathroom, and she was gone a long time. And so they went to check on her, and apparently she suffers from dementia off and on, and she left the bathroom and just went out the door. Like apparently she just completely forgot where she was.
I wonder who was playing her card for her, because you know how it is. Like there's always like the one person that is just like, hey, could you play this for me? I got to go to the bathroom.
Right. And then when they win, you're like switching the cards.
So you know she totally won, and that's why that's a long time not to notice somebody was freaking gone, dude. I mean, seriously.
Well, after they realized that she hadn't come back, you know, they started searching around the building for her, and they could not find her. So when Juanita found out, she saw like an alert on Facebook about this woman that had gone missing. She immediately contacted the family, because, you know, that's what she kind of does. And she said, you know,
she's like, B7.
She offered her services and offered to help the family. So they showed her a picture of the woman, and what she does is she can channel, even though the person's still alive, and she kind of channels what the person is doing. So what she got the first time was that the woman would be drawn to water, and that she was walking, she was still alive, and that she might have gotten a few scratches and might be a little bit hurt, but she was still, you know, okay. So they searched and searched and searched, and they couldn't find her. They were walking along this canal. And so as it got to be closer to dawn, she started feeling like the woman stopped to rest in the woods, and she got a really strong sense of her, and she drove right to where she was and found her. And she was in the woods. She was fine. She had a little scratch on her eye where she got hit with like a tree branch or something. But so it took, you know, maybe about 12 hours. But she did find her just by taking the picture and, you know, trying to sense where she was.
That's awesome.
So it's a really awesome story. I love how the local paper there did the whole write-up and told all about her background and a couple of other things that she had done, you know, through her career and things like that.
So where was this at? So it wasn't all snarky.
This was actually took place in Lockport, New York.
Oh.
So very cool story.
Yeah, that is cool.
All right, let's move on. So here's a story from India.
I love India.
We're so global today. So this is a story about sheep that are being killed by a mysterious creature. Now, what makes the story even more interesting is this has happened before. So this article actually claims that there's a return of the monster.
Oh no.
So what's happening is several
Maybe it's
sheep.
like a copy bad killer. Sorry.
Recently, 2 sheep were found dead and their intestines pulled out.
Ew.
And something, killed them, pulled their intestines out, and drank all of the blood out of the sheep. And they have no idea what it is, some kind of mysterious creature that sneaks into the pen and attacks it and doesn't leave any footprints or anything like that.
Oh my gosh.
So it's very strange. And what makes it more mysterious is this happened a while back and hundreds of sheep were killed by some mysterious creature, and they never figured out what was doing it. And it seemed like there was a lull in the activity, and now it's started up again.
Oh my goodness.
So it's very, very strange.
That's just very weird.
He said the man that owned the sheep said that after grazing the sheep in a forest near the village, he herded them into a shed near his house at night, to kind of keep them safe, and that the mysterious creature sneaked into the pen and attacked the flock of sheep, killing 2 and injuring some more of them.
Wait a second. This sounds like some story this guy's telling his sheep to get him inside the house. It's like, guys, you're not going to believe what's happening, but I'll keep you safe.
I just think it's weird that whatever creature is killing these sheep, it eats the intestines and drinks all the blood.
Yeah, no. In all seriousness,
the whole thing's very strange.
It's very chupacabra-ish, but it's in India, so I don't know.
Well, they're trying to say that it was probably a hyena that was doing it, but the locals don't feel like that's right. That it would be able to sneak in, kill a couple sheep, and get out, not leave any footprints, and not alert anyone.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's very, very strange.
I mean, the locals should know, and I mean, it's something that if it's you would think that's something that I don't know that there would be a precedent for that, right?
You would think so, and this is the first time that this particular farmer has been affected. But like I said, last year there were hundreds and hundreds of sheep, and
Isn't
a lot
it crazy
of people were affected.
That in 2018 there's stories like this that happen, and people just don't realize it.
Yeah, there's mysterious creatures that you don't have any idea what they are, and they're killing livestock.
I mean, they just don't know. Can you imagine being that person? Like put yourself in those shoes, right? You imagine that we're in that little town, and that's us, right? We have the sheep, and they just wound up with their blood drank. I mean, come on,
their intestines gone.
It's just weird.
It is weird.
It's just like I always think about that with cattle mutilation. We just go about our lives because it didn't happen to us, and it's almost like watching a reality show. When you watch these shows and you see somebody who's experienced cattle mutilation, right? And that's their whole life. They get close to these animals, and that's their money, that's their livelihood, that's everything,
right?
But then there's this surgical precision where the tongues are out and just things that just are just insanity. We're gonna have to do an episode sometime just talking about that part of it, because we've never really went into that
kind of animal mutilation episode.
And it's just really strange. Get somebody on there to talk about it with us. But I've always wondered, what do they feel like? Because it comes, maybe we talk about it on the news once, or somebody comes and talks about it on the news. Maybe they get mentioned on some show, but they're still getting shunned. And they don't even have to be people who believe in UFOs, who believe in aliens. There's some poor farmer that this has happened to, which makes them a victim and then makes people, maybe make fun of them or whatever. I wonder how many God-fearing farmers don't ever tell anyone.
Right, because, people are going to be like, it was just an animal.
I'm telling you right now, there's a good chance that somebody in my family would never let you know.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
It's like my grandmother has the shine. My grandmother probably knows when I scratch my ass and then could call me up and be like, "Did you scratch your ass?" Because I love my grandmother for being creepy. It's one of her best qualities. I love her so much, but she will not admit it. She will not admit it no matter what. And between her and my mom, I could never get away with anything.
It's probably good in your case.
There are nights from my teenage years where I would be at somebody's house that nobody knew.
Right.
Nobody knew. I didn't tell friends where I was at. And I would be there drinking some Mad Dog 2020 grape 19% in a big McDonald's cup full of ice through a straw.
Right.
And I'd be sitting there, and I remember these nights, and I was just sitting there to get messed up to be messed up, right?
Right.
And probably listen to some Nirvana and, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be damned if the phone wouldn't ring at this place. You know, and it was stuff like this all the time, and it would be, you know, my mom or something, right? And it'd be like, John, your mom's on the phone. You're like, what? And it was just like the weirdest freaking thing. And and I could like go and not do, like, I was a pretty good kid, okay? So I wouldn't do anything, but the second I did, they would know, and they would catch me. And it was the craziest freaking thing, man. And they have the shine. I'm just saying, there's a lot of people out there who are not going to admit, or they're going to come up with excuses as to what happened. And it's the same thing with hauntings and everything else. There's a lot of people that have stuff happen, and they're just like, oh, did you see that little boy run up the stairs? Oh, probably. You know,
It's just a shadow.
Just a shadow. Yeah. It's you know,
a bug.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I mean, your parents. I dare say they would not tell a soul.
I don't think they would.
Yeah, not now.
No, probably not. All right, well, let's move on. And speaking of weird things, were we speaking of weird things? There's this story with pictures. You're going to have to go look at these pictures of these fishermen that caught this weird looking fish that looks like they're calling it half bird, half fish. It is the craziest looking thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
It is a fish. They think it's a grass carp, but the head of it is so deformed that it really looks like a pigeon head almost, or like a beluga whale. It is the craziest looking thing. So when they caught it, they reeled it in, they put it on the thing. People started taking videos, obviously, of this crazy looking fish. And they have no idea what it is or where it came from or why it looks like that. And they felt so bad for it that after they caught it, they threw it back in the water because they were like, this fish has a hard enough life. We don't need to catch it. And they threw it back in the water and let it go. This was in China.
Wow.
It's very crazy. You're going to have to go look at the pictures because it does look very strange. Like, I had to look at it several times. It was really weird.
Really strange. And
it's funny because just a week ago, China has actually been doing, I know that they're doing this whole big space race and trying to get the dark side of the moon, but they're also doing tons of studying in deep sea oceans. And last week they actually did this press conference where they talked about 30 new deep sea creatures that they discovered.
Wow.
Just new ones they'd never seen before. So they're really doing some amazingly cool things with, undersea. You've always said,
man, we talked about discoveries they make all the time. They're really at the forefront of all that.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. Obviously this is just some kind of weird deformity, but it is, I really had to look twice when I first looked at it. It did look like a fish with a bird head. It was very crazy.
It sounds like something you would see on the side of a pyramid.
It does. It was really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely go to the website.
They probably found some kind of weird ancient god or something.
Click the link and check it out. Birdfish.
They could have made wishes or something, and
and they just went and threw it back
in.
Oh, but see, good things will happen to them now that they threw it back in and didn't kill it.
Yeah, maybe.
See? They did the smart thing.
Unless they dishonored it.
All right, well, I have one more story, and I saved this one for last because I really like this story, and I thought we could have a pretty good discussion on it. All right, so this story is about a toddler from northern Israel, and he's part of an Arabic-speaking family. And he didn't really speak. His name's O'Neill.
Right.
And he didn't really speak at all until he was about 2 years old. But when he first started speaking, he started making these unintelligible noises. And at one point, he started speaking fluent English with a British accent.
Oh, wow.
And he uses phrases like my dear and oh my goodness. And he actually has a pretty good concept of speaking English. His family doesn't even understand what he's saying, and he doesn't know the Arabic equivalents, even though he lives in an Arabic-speaking home.
Wow.
So the whole thing is very crazy. Like,
does he watch a lot of Doctor Who?
He does not watch this family. They were on this TV show and, doing an interview, and they were talking about he doesn't really watch a lot of English speaking television. He's not, he's not exposed to any kind of, anybody that speaks a lot of English because his family doesn't understand what he's saying.
So he's just like toddling around going, pip, pip, cheerio.
He says things. They said that he's somehow able to utter complicated words like motorcycle, rectangle, and waterfall. He doesn't know what the Arabic equivalents of those are.
All very Woody words.
And yes. And, they had to actually send him to a special school with an English speaking teacher because his Arabic level is so low. And so the teacher's like, it's not that he can't comprehend or remember because obviously he can speak this English. So they don't really understand why it's like that. And obviously, as a medical professional, the nurse that they were talking to in this interview couldn't offer up reincarnation as a medical explanation, but that they do really believe in that, and so they feel like maybe this is some kind of past life thing coming up because he's at the age where most kids start remembering past lives, and that maybe it's just what he remembers from his past life. So it's very strange. And there is actually some video clips where you can hear him talking and you can see his mom pointing to pictures and he's saying what it is, and you can tell that she doesn't really understand what he's saying, and he's just speaking this cute little British accent. It's very adorable.
That's really strange. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's and we've had so many of these stories over the years with children that remember things, and then we've had adults that just wake up from accident or something, speaking fluently in another language.
Yes, and I believe that they have a medical reason for the people in accidents waking up with another language.
I've said before that that's caca. They can have a medical thing all they want, but it makes no sense. Right.
Well, they don't actually have any kind of medical explanation for this because this is not something that they have any idea what it is. They did talk to a speech therapist and a clinical linguist who actually said that his level of English is that of a 3-year-old that grew up in an English-speaking family.
So what's your medical, what would your medical reason be for having an accident and all of a sudden speaking fluent German? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. They have one. I don't know what it is.
With the accent and all that stuff. You know what it is? It's reincarnation. That's
jogging memories loose that,
I mean, it's either that or I will give it up to being one other thing. Okay? And that's being like some weird universal intelligence. This great power that you can tap into. And, that's the possibility as well.
Right, because most of those cases are people that have severe head injuries.
Right.
And so they've, jogged something in their memory or something like that. But for me, with this particular story, I don't see how it can't be anything but he's just remembering something from a past life. I mean, maybe there's some other explanation, but, we have all those stories.
Maybe there was an alien abduction and there was already kids aboard the ship. And they accidentally dropped
they gave him the
little
wrong
Brit.
Kid. Perhaps. He doesn't look British.
Well, I was just trying to give you alternate explanations.
That is an alternate explanation. Thank you.
He doesn't look British.
I don't know.
I mean,
maybe he is. I don't know.
Well, did he not have a monocle and a walking cane?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He wasn't wearing a little 3-piece suit, so he didn't look British.
Didn't have some fish and chips. Jeez, woman.
Well, because we had this story, one of the things that I really like is all those stories about kids that remember their past lives and things like that. And it's something that's been studied for decades. I mean,
it has.
A very long time. Lots of books been written on it. So I thought I would just mention a few of the cooler stories.
Okay.
And there is a paper that was written back in 2008 by a psychiatrist, a University of Virginia psychiatrist named Jim Tucker, and he is probably the world's leading researcher on this topic. He has done all kinds of research on it. And according to him, the average age when kids start remembering their past life is about 35 months. Right. So when they're getting to be about 3, usually between 3 and 6 years old is when you'll have the most vivid memories. And then after that, they start forgetting.
Right.
So that's when you kind of want to watch what your child says and things like that. But there's a couple of documented examples that were really cool. And probably one of the most famous is the kid named Ryan, who was 4 when he began having these really intense nightmares. And when his parents spoke to him about it, he told them he was convinced he used to be someone else, which must be terrible for a child, by the way, that feeling. But he began to beg his parents to take him home to Hollywood. and that he would tell them in great detail about he had met all these famous stars like Rita Hayworth, and he would dance on Broadway, and he recalled working for, you know, this agency, and he remembered that he used to live on a street called Rock something. And so his mother was intrigued, and she decided to pick up some picture books about old Hollywood, and she let him flip through them, and he found a picture, and he pointed to this guy in the book, and he said, "That's me right there." And it turns out that he was a man named Marty Martin, who was like an extra in some movies, and he did some dancing on, you know, as Broadway dancer, and he worked for this agency. He was like a agent for a long time, and he lived on North Roxbury Drive in Beverly Hills. And so the whole story just checked out. So that was like a really cool documented story.
And I think he met like a family member.
I think so.
Like
a lot of times they do take them to meet other family members.
I saw a video or a news story on him years ago.
Well, this other story I thought was really cool. This is about a woman named Hanan Mansour. She was born in Lebanon in the 1930s. And when she was 20, she got married to this policeman named Farouk, and she gave birth to 2 girls named Layla and Galera. And during her second pregnancy, she had some trouble, and the doctor told her not to have any more kids, but she decided to have a 3rd child anyway. And she had a son. When she had her 3rd child, she told her husband that she was going to be reincarnated and have lots to say about her previous life. And, you know, a year later, her health condition worsened, and she had to go and have an operation. And they actually flew her to Richmond, Virginia. And she had this operation, but she died while recovering from the operation. But before she died, she tried to make a phone call to her daughter, Layla, and she never got through because, you know, it was a long distance overseas call. So 10 days after she passed away, this little girl named Suzanne Ganem was born. And when she was 16 months old, she would pick up a telephone and constantly say, hello, Layla, into the phone.
Wow.
And her parents didn't really understand what was going on. But as she grew up, she was able to identify 13 family members from her past life.
Wow.
And so her family took her to meet that other family, you know, that she had been talking about. And the woman's husband, actually accepted her as a member of his own family and stayed in contact with her.
Wow.
Because she obviously was, you know, reincarnated from his wife.
It's got to be awkward.
It must be weird, but I would think that if you met someone, I mean, souls know souls, you know? It's just one of those things.
I mean, that would be awesome for me. I mean, you know, being able to meet that person again, you know, that'd be really, really cool.
And that one happened really quickly. Like 10 days. That's really fast.
Determination.
Well, she knew because he, you know, in the story it says that she told him that was going to happen, that she was going to be reincarnated, and, you know, so she was ready. So I have 2 more, and these are really cool. Now, this one was from 2009, and I think we talked about this one before, but this doctor was investigating a claim that this little boy, who they didn't give his name because he was very little, but that he remembered his past life, and he was killed by an axe blow to the head. And he had a red birthmark in the area that he was saying that he got killed with an axe. So the boy took the doctor to this village and walked up to someone there saying, I used to be your neighbor, and we had a fight, and you killed me with an axe. And the man went completely white. And the little boy said, I know where he buried my body. And so he took them to a pile of stones, and underneath was a skeleton of a man wearing farmer's clothes with an axe in his head in that exact spot. So that's just, I mean, obvious proof when you can take them straight to the grave. Oh, that was me, and this guy killed me. That guy must have been horrified.
Well, that's what he deserves, though.
Exactly.
I mean, that's awesome. I could see that. Man, that's crazy. That one could also be possession. But
it could be, but the thing about the birthmark is because, you know, birthmarks a lot of times are indicative from past lives.
Because you have the witch's mark in your
eye.
Yeah, like the devil's mark. And some crazy, you know, birthmarks. And we've seen some crazy birthmarks. Yeah, so that's pretty nuts, man.
Well, this one last one I thought was really interesting. And this is about a man who, you know, was changing his son's diaper one day. And the little boy, I mean, he was not even 2 years old. And he told his dad, he said, when I was your age, I changed your diaper. And his dad looked at him, and the boy could actually speak very well for such a young child. Like he was, I think they said from the time he was like 18 months old, he was speaking in full sentences.
So he was changing his diaper and he was able to say that to him?
Yeah, like he was almost 2 and he was like, when I was your age, I changed your diaper. Yeah. Because it was.
I'm sorry if you could say that to me. I'm not changing your diaper. It's like, look, kid, you're gonna learn.
Well, even as he was a baby, he made similar remarks, and this man and his wife eventually figured out that he thought he was reincarnated from his deceased grandfather.
Right.
He thought he was his dad's dad. And so they would ask him questions and they'd say, how did you come back? And the little child would say, I just went whoosh and came out the portal. So then they were like amazed that he knew the word portal, because that's not a word that you use with children.
I'm surprised
very
whoosh.
often. And so, his parents were kind of stunned, even though he had been speaking in full sentences. And so they asked him if he had any siblings. And he replied that he had a sister who, quote, turned into a fish. And they were like, who turned her into a fish? And he said, some bad guys. She died. And funny enough, Sam's grandfather, the one he supposedly is reincarnated of, had a sister who had been murdered 60 years earlier, and her body was found floating in the San Francisco Bay. And there's no way that baby knew that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just something that he came up with, that he was able to say. And so then they asked him, they said, do you know how you died? And they said he jerked back and slapped the top of his head as though he was in pain. And 1 year before he was born, his grandfather died from a cerebral hemorrhage.
Oh.
So it was, obviously, he just wanted to come back into the same family.
Yeah.
He just loved them that much. So those are all pretty cool stories. I love stories like that. Like I said, there are countless books that you can get of people that have researched these and recounted different stories. And I find them very fascinating.
They are fascinating. I mean, because, there's a few things there. They have no idea about any of these stories.
Right.
And, the ones in families, I would almost say that there is that lingering DNA, that's something.
Right.
Which is interesting. And there's so much to the human brain that we don't know. We know how strong DNA and the genes really are.
Right.
So is there some kind of muscle memory that's passed down to children?
Maybe.
And their grandchildren. I'm just saying. When it's in different families, though, and across countries and across worlds, it's very, very complex, very strange, very paranormal.
It is. A lot of times when you can correlate the birthmarks with it, I just think that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's just strange, and I love it, too. And there's so much more we'll know someday, but we don't know now. If you've had anything like that out there, any of you, a friend of yours, a family member, anyone who's had any kind of weird past life experiences, any kind of past life regression, that you've went through to find out stuff, let's talk about that. Get a hold of us and send us a message. Let us know, your story. Maybe we can have a show where we have a few of you on and talk about this, because it's a very interesting topic that I think needs to be explored more, needs to really be explored more. But thanks for that. That was really cool. All right. Well, I think we got the red shirt hanging, and we got
the little note on there.
Yeah,
and it's all good.
Creepy stories going, and some kitty gas mask, and all kinds of cool stuff. But hey, speaking of cool stuff, on patreon.com/paranormal sideshow, that's where you can go and be a patron. And not just a patron, but a patron for something that actually is worth something. And that's one of our patrons. There's a lot of cool levels on there, including the exclusive tarot card, the coolest t-shirt on the planet that's ever been made, some really cool little picture of two cuties, all kinds of stuff like that. So, and it goes to a good cause. That good cause is trying to make it bigger and better, and doing a lot of crazy things here with the podcast that we want to take to greater heights. And that's patreon.com/paranormal sideshow. Also on the video world, the video end of things, youtube.com/paranormal sideshow. That's your place to go find our cool as can be. You want to do it with me? There is something strange about this week. Yes, that's where you can go find that. If you haven't watched that, shame. We all know your name. You need to check it out. It's a lot of fun. It's a recap video of what we talk about on the podcast, but completely different. It's its own little show, and we pick a few of the stories, plus you get an exclusive story. And
you get to see some video of it.
Oh my God, there's a lot of fun in the editing that happens, and Raja puts a lot of effort into editing these videos. So she's a huge part of the team, and you know, even with the tarot card, a lot of stuff's going to be coming out with Raja and her tarot readings, and wait till you see the full deck, because that's the next thing. That's one of the things being worked on right now. A lot of cool stuff, a lot of fun stuff that we're doing, and you know, as always, please go to the Twitter at Sideshow97, like us on Facebook, and however you're listening to this, it goes a long way. If you could take a moment and leave us a review. I know we shield, you know, every week and ask that you like it or subscribe, and thank you for those of you who have, but you know, it goes a long way. Hitting like on the Facebook, taking a couple moments doing that, taking a couple moments and sharing the podcast, getting the word out there. You know, we want to get this out there as much as we can. iTunes, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, however you listen to it, you know, be sure to support it, please. We love bringing you the show. And that's it. Leaving a review, you know, is awesome. And we absolutely will always take the time we try to respond to every letter, every email, everything we get on every form of social media that we get. You know, sometimes it might take a few hours or something before we see one, but we try to always respond, and we really enjoy. We open up some great conversations, and you know, find out a lot of cool things from everyone. I think we have this huge group of, you know, these people that bring us news and, you know, share crazy stories from around the globe. I love the network. You know, we've got this giant network that we developed over 8 years. And it's really cool because we get some stories that otherwise we wouldn't know about.
Right.
And we also get to share some wonderful paranormal experiences with people. And better than that, we've made a whole lot of friends. And, you know, Stacey and I both really, truly appreciate that part of things. I didn't want to do the normal shilling this week, the normal little paranormalsideshow.com. As much as I'd love to scream that out, I wanted to give you a heartfelt thank you for, you know, for those of you who have done the Patreon, for those of you who have taken the time to send us letters, for those of you who have taken the time to share the podcast and to, you know, subscribe. We really appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. You know, until the video, which will be out sometime in the next few days. For my lovely wife, Stacey, my name's John. So long from the Sideshow.
Good night.
Hey guys, if you like what you've heard, please check out ParanormalSideshow.com and follow the links for our weekly podcast. Also, become a Sideshow off yourself and pick one of our killer levels on our Patreon to help support the channel and help keep us bringing you bigger and better content. So until next week, for my lovely wife, Stacey, I'm John Edwards. So long and
stay strange.